Gotta make sure I've got some room here. Writing down some notes this morning about the press conference. I always think that when you have this opening day press conference, it's always the week of the season. And so in baseball, because we start so late, unlike football and then basketball a little later, in the fall, and then of course it's baseball here in February. There's all these unofficial start dates. It's the Road to Omaha starts in August when we start our first practice, and then maybe when you come back in January. But certainly when you get to this point, and a lot of familiar faces here with the media, I always think this is game week. So this is really the official start of the season. Thank you for trucking through some of the construction. As Ross says, pardon our progress outside, but as you can tell, the stadium's just about complete and ready to go for Friday. The new club level behind home plate looks terrific, and the guys are cleaning it up. The Baseball Performance Center is coming along. As you may or may not know, the finish or completion date is supposed to be in April, but the cages in the pitching indoor we've already used and have been using now for several weeks, and thankfully because of all the rain and some of the temperatures, that's been been very important, and glad to be in there. As we start today, and as I wrote some things down, it's amazing, a lot different than last year. Last year we welcomed a lot of new faces. This year it seems like the new faces are administrative faces. New sports information director Brandon Lee, marketing Jenny Garrett, Scott Wyatt with video productions. I got two new director of operations, and Alex Swenson and Chris Guderis, and so a lot of new faces that are out of uniform that help us compete every single day. But last year they were new faces in the uniform, so this year a little different. Last year, if you remember, we talked about the #1 ranked recruiting class, at that time, and a lot of those young guys, stepped on the field for the first time last year, and we had 20, I believe, if I remember right, 29 of the 35. 29 of the 35 were either freshmen or sophomore. We only had 6 upperclassmen, 6 juniors or seniors. Last was it Sunday night? We had a junior-senior dinner at my house. We had 14, and so we've over doubled the upperclassmen already. And a lot of those sophomores obviously played last year, and some of them played really well. A lot of those freshmen that stepped out on the field for the first time had great first years. Guys like Will Etheridge and Ryan Rollison and Houston Roth garnished freshman All-American honors and had great freshman campaigns. And some of those freshmen didn't play as well. And but the good news for us is they were out there a lot, and they gained a lot of experience. And at times, I look back and I've said this to the team, I've said this to the coaches, that I blame myself that at times I think we leaned on them too much, and left them out there, and probably not the best move by me. But the result of that, I think this year is where you look at guys that maybe didn't quite have the freshman year that they wanted, had great freshman fall or sophomore falls, and are ready to compete this year, and in a league that is very unforgiving. And so when you don't play well, it kind of gets exaggerated quickly in your batting average and your ERA. And I think those guys are chomping at the bit, for another chance, in the Southeastern Conference. Last year we didn't return a lot, but this year after losing just Bortles and Blackman, as far as position players that played every single day, we returned 7 of the starting 9, and which almost the direct opposite of last year. And when you look at a pitching staff that really did pitch it pretty well last year, I think we were ranked 4th in the SEC in ERA, and we returned 7 of the 9 best earned run averages from last year. So an experienced staff, experienced position players usually makes for a pretty good season, and that's why we're so excited. So with that, does anybody listen to David Kellum on Reb Talk? Parrish?
Every now and then.
Every now and then. Did you listen last night?
Not last night.
Not last night. So if you listened last night, Chuck, you listened last night. You listened last night, we released the starting rotation. And so you'll have to start important information on Rep Talk, so you're going to have to start listening. Friday, we'll start off with Ryan Rollison on the mound for us. Saturday, Brady Feigl, and on Sunday, James MacArthur. It's one of the things that wasn't supposed to be so suspenseful, and I joke about it, but it was one of the things that I thought this year was a tough decision. A lot of times, it's not as difficult. You return, maybe an ace, or there's some other guys trying to make their way to the starting rotation. But when I look at, as I mentioned, the 3 freshman All-Americans last year, people forget 2 years ago we had 3 freshman All-Americans, Brady Feigl and James MacArthur were a couple freshman All-Americans from 2 years ago. We got a lot of depth and a lot of talent. And I thought, along with the guys I mentioned, guys like Houston Roth and Greer Holston and Will Etheridge also, have competed, for the last 6 months as, for one of those roles as a weekend starter. But as we start the first weekend, those guys will find themselves in the bullpen, which just adds a lot of depth to an already, I think, deep bullpen. The question that's asked a lot is the closer. This year, there's no secret that we returned Dallas Woolfolk, who's on many preseason polls as a closer and a guy at the end of the game. He's a guy that pitched for the USA team in that same role. So, to wear USA across your chest and represent the best that our country has to offer as far as amateur baseball players. Dallas, I think, is tested not only in our league, but internationally, and excited to have him back there. And of course, Will Stokes, who enters his 4th year and has pitched so many important games. As we look around the infield and outfield on Friday, starting in left field will be Thomas Dillard. Thomas was one of those, highly touted freshmen that started last year, mostly in left field. Another switch for Will Golson. As those that follow us know that, Will's a senior captain, was elected captain by his teammates at the end of the fall. Will moves to his 4th position in 4 years, where he'll start on opening day in center field with Ryan Rollison playing right. So those guys almost flip-flopped, and the reason that they did that is because I felt Ryan's going to play some infield this year and just didn't want to move the center field spot around a lot. I thought it was better and made a lot more sense to put Ryan in right field. I think they're pretty much interchangeable. I think their skill set's very similar. Both are great athletes. Both can really run and defend and throw. And so Will in center and Ryan on opening day will start in right field. Around the infield, at third base, could be a couple freshmen, one Tim Elko, another freshman Tyler Keenan, both physical hitters, both solid defenders. Both will add some power, I think, to the lineup. One's right-handed, Tim being right-handed, and Tyler being left-handed. At shortstop, Greg Kessinger returns. Will start at shortstop on opening day. At second base, the other position, open from last year's departure from Tate Blackman is you should look for Jacob Adams, a junior college transfer, or Anthony Servideo at second base on opening day. And then at first base, you have Cole Zabowski that returns, but we also return Nick Fortes. Nick is a tremendous catcher, but likely on opening day we'll put him at first base and start Cooper Johnson behind the plate. Cooper has worked really hard with Coach Clement offensively and probably made as much strides as anybody I've seen over the past year offensively, so we're excited about him. But I also think Nick will catch for us, and I think he'll catch this weekend for us. I think he'll get a start behind the plate there as well. And so, as you can tell, especially guys, the beat guys that follow us and write about us so much, when you say these names, there's not a ton of new names mentioned. There's a lot of guys that return off of last year's team, like I said, that tons of experience, and a team that last year that was good, just not good enough often enough, to where to compete in this tough league of the Southeastern Conference. I think one of the big things this year, everybody will talk about, the offense, but we put a lot, and because I work with the pitchers as well, we talk to the staff a lot about the pitchers. Last year, as good as we were on the mound, we weren't good enough on the mound. We weren't good enough to compete.